check my beard. Looks good. Alright. We're back. Fiat's back. 5,000 mile checkup, oil change. Go through some stuff. Maybe retorque some shit. Maybe retorque some stuff. I'm going to try to keep it clean. Well, it's a Fiat, so not the car clean. The car's going to be clean. The language. To be honest, I got started already. I wasn't going to do any of this, but then I thought about some of y'all, so we're back. So don't worry, we're going to get to the oil change part sooner or later. But I just wanted to address a few things that have come up since we did this. It's been a while. So these are the wires from my fan. I labeled them red and black. Okay? Red's hot, black's not. It's the way it spins. So if you flip it, instead of being a puller, it's going to be a pusher. Now, the rest of the wiring is factory. Okay, so from the factory, there's a black wire and a blue wire, and it plugs in. So in our case, we went different. But this is your wire from the factory. It plugs into the fan. Now, this is the rest of it. So this black wire from this connection connects to this connection. And then there's another black wire running from the factory harness. And it plugs into your thermostat. Is it a thermostat? It's not a thermostat. Well, it's a thermocoupler, but you know what I mean. It plugs into the... So from the factory, it plugs into the sensor on the bottom of the radiator. So the wires coming out of that are both black. They plug into this plug, which are both black, and then that plug's connected to your factory harness plug, which is blue and black. So if you're having trouble wiring up your radiator from the sender, it's all connected to the factory wiring. I didn't alter any of this. I just altered my fan. I hope that helps. Okay, so now we're looking at the driver's side firewall. So factory wiring harness coming out here. And then this is the Vic Auto relay kit for the headlights. So ignore my wires. Okay? So we're coming out of the firewall from the headlights, and we have headlight power from the switch here. Okay, so we have high beam and low beam for the headlights. It goes to the white wire on the VIX relays. Okay, so this is switch power on. Now then, power for the relays is the blue wires here. Okay, so it runs from blue, it goes through a, can't see it, yeah you can, it goes through a fuse, and then I have it hooked to the alternator directly. It could go to the alternator or it could go to the battery on the solenoid. So that's where you get your power to feed the relay. This is the switch to turn the relay on, coming from the factory harness, from the dash, from the switch itself, and then going out to the headlights. It plugs into the green wire and the gray wire that go to feed the headlights. So you're gonna have to kind of match them up. This relay's gray, it plugs in here. This relay's green, it plugs in here because it's high-low, high-low, or low-high, or high-low, or low-high, depending on how you're wired. It's confusing, but not really. And then to run the other side, the kit just has an extension, so the relays feed both headlights, and it runs all the way back around and plugs into the connector over there to go to the headlights. Same color, green and gray. I tried something different and I ended up using some different wires. Ignore the black and the blue. That's all part of the headlight stuff that I did myself that just made it more complicated than it really needed to be. I'm trying to look for the next thing. All right, I'm going to talk about the carburetor for a little bit. But remember, there are multiple different carburetors on multiple different year engine models, country models, continent models, whatever you want to call it. Not all of them are the same. Every time I pop this off, it flies off and gets stuck and I lose it. I'm trying something new. That worked. So this 5,000 miles worth of Texas on a carburetor, air filter, K&N filter, we'll clean that. So these are for the choke. The choke is cold. So when the motor's cold, the choke could be closed all the way, part of the way, or open. Doesn't really matter as long as it's moving. So it's hot as So it's hot as 7 inches from the midday sun in Texas today. We will hit 100 degrees again. So this is 100 degrees worth of temperature on the choke? Maybe. This is the Weber I bought from VicAuto.com. I bought the Vic Auto manifold carburetor as a unit. So it's running the bypass filter because it's only equipped with one port on the carb for fuel inlet. There's no fuel out for the return line. So that's why this filter is on there. Can you see it? Yes, you can. Okay. And this is my filter for the oil dump canister over there, the vapor canister. Hold on, I'm getting distracted by dirt. I'm going to say right now, 99% of your problems with your carburetor are caused by vacuum leaks. Okay? So the first thing I want you to do is go over here and tighten down all of these nuts. Give them a good snug. If you haven't snugged them, they need to be snug. Better yet, take them all the way off, put some Loctite on them, and then run them all the way back down and snug them tight. This thing vibrates. Okay? You got multiple sets of gasket materials between plastic plates, metal plates, all kinds of plates. It's gonna swell and contract with the heat cycles of the motor. So it's gonna need to be retightened. Retighten this, retighten your intake manifold. Then, if you've got one of those emission control things with all of those vacuum ports on it, rip it off and throw it away and buy one of these because it only has one port. And that goes to the vacuum advance. If you're not running vacuum advance, then you just plug it off. The Vic manifold only has one port for the brake booster, so there's only two places it could leak. Brake booster, vacuum hose, go into the distributor. If you snug everything down, you're done. I went over a basic tune-up setting or tuning setting on a previous video, so I don't think we need to cover that. If you see anything around your carburetor base that looks like syrup, that's gasoline leaking out of somewhere. If it's old, there's all these pins and things running through. This goes all the way through the carb to the other side, so there's little seals in there. It's leaking. That's all I can tell you. If there's what looks like syrup somewhere around here on the bottom, that's gasoline that's been heat cycled and started to turn into varnish. You need a rebuild or a new carb. Once it's tuned up, it probably doesn't need tuning again. Fuel is coming in here, goes into the carb. There's floats in there. The floats control the level of the fuel inside the carb. That's all they're good for. They're necessary. So if we look in here, sorry, I don't have anywhere to put this, and you're going to need a light. How's that? I don't know, maybe. So if we look in here, these are the Venturis, and then there's a jet that's going to squirt gas down. See it dripping out over here? I've already done it like 3 times. So there's fuel in the carb. You're putting fuel in the motor when you kick it on and fire it off. You know it has fuel in it. So on this model, in here, down in there, are the jets. So you take your carb cleaner, we're going to spray down in here. And then we're going to put it in the hole for the jet. We're going to mash it. We're going to blow that sucker out. And then the same with this one. As soon as I can get it in the hole. That's what she said. I'm not supposed to say that. So anywhere there's an opening or a port, you want to squirt in the fuel for cleaning. Now there's a lot of liquid going down in there. It's going to be tough to start when it's time to start it because it's going to be flooded, but we'll work it out. If you have a car with an unknown condition of carburetor, meaning you didn't take it apart and clean it, or pay somebody to take it apart and clean it, or buy it new and put it on, take it off and clean it, or have it cleaned, rebuilt, or buy a new one. If there's something else, you're not getting spark, that's on the other side of the car. But tighten these bolts down, tighten these nuts down, tighten down your intake manifold, check for vacuum leaks. If you're getting fuel in there, you're good to go. The amount of opening on this when we're looking at it doesn't really matter. It's inside here, this electronic model, you know, there's a heat thermocoupler in there that twists as the motor gets hot, or as the carb gets hot, and it's going to open these a little bit more. But when it's cold, it should be more closed like this, but it's going to fire off no matter what. So I gapped these before I installed them. These are the Iridium spark plugs. Champion 9804s. If you're interested, they don't look bad. There's a little bit of debris on there. That's probably from when I started it up and brought it into the shop. They're not gooey. So they're not coated with oil. They're not white, they're not running lean. They look good. I don't even need to check the rest of them. What's the torque spec on that? Pretty tight. Remember, it's aluminum. It's made by Fiat, so you'll break it. I'm not supposed to say that. So, on the coil side, there's a plus and a minus. So your application may be different, but for this purpose, we've got the pink wire going to plus, and I'm going to call this a brown wire with a white stripe going to minus, and then our condenser goes to plus, and then it's got the control module behind it, so red goes to hot, black goes to minus. The white wire is our magnetic pickup for inside, and the blue wire goes to our coil. I don't need to do any maintenance on this. It was running. The only thing I may need to do is pull the cap and take a look inside. So let's pull the cap and take a look inside. So pulling the cap should not affect our timing setup, but it could. Because when we put it back on, is it going to go back on the exact same place we took it off? Maybe. So inside the cap looks good. There's no scorch marks, burn marks, crosswire marks. All my wires look good in here. We're going to check the timing anyway. But not because we did this, just because we're going to check it anyway. So this is the stainless header from Vicks. 4 into 2, and then it goes into 1. This is normal for the way it turns. It's not dirty. It's just stainless. So I mean, if you want to polish it, but if you really want it to shine, you're going to a car show, get yourself one of these blue scratch pads. We're going to go like this. So now you can see a definite difference, right? Stainless.